Hey there, can you believe we're almost done with the book? I can't believe it seems in some ways we've been working on it forever, and in some ways we just started. This chapter is a hard conversation, and so it's called Compromised Christianity. And I'm not going to go through every page of it, obviously, but I just wanted to use it for us to have a tough conversation. So the basis of this chapter is that sometimes our kids' rebellion is a reflection of our own rebellion. So, in other words, when we have sin in our life that we're not dealing with, or we have sin in our life that we're trying to cover up, or we're putting on the pretty church face when we're here, but at home we're a totally different person, our kids are going to end up reflecting that rebellion in their own lives. And so many times people end up getting so furious with their kids' behavior without recognizing that kids are really copying the adults. And so as we think about this chapter and as we work on it a little bit this week, I want you to I want all of us to really reflect in our own lives, in our own hearts, are we truly living out the life that Christ has called us to do? Do we have sin that we are keeping as our own little personal pet in our lives, right? We don't talk about it. We don't want to let go of it. We don't want anybody to know about it. Our kids see it, but we're going to pretend that they don't. Our kids see it, but we're going to not talk about it anywhere else. Y'all, when we do that, we're setting our families up for disaster. So what are some examples of that? I don't need to go into a whole lot. So what I'm not saying is, you slipped up and yelled at your kids this morning and now your kids are going to rebel. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you are living a life of anger and you are not ever acknowledging that to your kids, that's something that you're struggling with, and saying, I am sorry, coming and apologizing when you mess up. If you're not sharing with them, yes, mom messes up, and that's why I need Jesus, just like we all need Jesus because of this sin. If we're not dealing with our sin that way, if instead we're pretending it doesn't exist, or we are covering it up to the rest of the world, that's what's going to incite rebellion. I hope that difference makes sense. So I'm not saying that we as parents are supposed to live these perfect sin-free lives. That's not possible. That's not possible for any of us. The question is, how do we deal with it? Number one, do we have sin that is ingrained and we are not trying to do anything about it? We're just living with it. We're enjoying it. It's part of our life. And number two, are we being honest and upfront with our kids about it? Or are we trying to pretend that doesn't exist and that we are perfect Christian examples? So he mentioned several things at the end of this chapter, which I thought were very, very key. He talks about, number one, that we can't be passive. He talks about how King David was very passive in his kids' life. Like, instead of necessarily attacking his own sin, instead of being super involved spiritually in their lives, he was very passive. The author talks about develop a new and fresh relationship with God. Y'all, if we don't take anything else away from this book, let's take this away. That our kids' relationship with Christ for the long term is greatly going to reflect ours. And my prayer is that my kids' relationship with God far exceeds mine. But if I am living a compromised Christian life, if I am one person on Sunday and my life is completely different at home during the week, that's what my kids are going to model, or they're going to walk away from it altogether. But part of my responsibility as a believer and as a parent is to continually have a fresh and real relationship with God. He suggests get specific help with your problem. If you are struggling with whatever, whether it's anger or some kind of hidden sexual sin, or if it's lying or gossip or whatever, I'm just thinking of random examples here, cheating on taxes, whatever it is that may be hiding and ingrained in your home, or maybe it's something that your spouse is hiding and dealing with. Guys, we can't just ignore it and assume it's going to go away. Can I be real honest? In my previous marriage, there were a lot of things that I just ignored and hoped would go away. But it was sin living in my house. And y'all, that always has a consequence for our families, for our kids. And so my encouragement is, if there is a problem in your home, if there's a compromised Christianity problem, get help for it. Don't let pride get in the way. Don't let embarrassment get in the way. Get help. He also says, don't hide your past mistakes if they can be used to save your children future heartaches. There's construction noise in the background. I apologize for that. It's okay to tell your kids, hey, I struggled with this once, and this is what happened. It's okay. We don't need to paint this picture of ourselves as perfect and got it all together. Because our kids are going to quickly learn that that's just not true. Once they get past like age 5 or 6 and we're not the superheroes in their eyes, it doesn't do us any good whatsoever to try to pretend that we've never done anything wrong. They can identify with us more when they know about our struggles, and they can know that they can come to us when they struggle. That doesn't mean you got to tell them all the things at all the ages. Be wise about that, but don't hide your past mistakes. And the last thing he says is maintain an attitude of brokenness about your actions to your children. Y'all, we mess up. And the best thing that we can do is model grace to our kids by modeling that we have to seek God's grace as well. So, hard conversation, but my challenge for you is what do you need to do to have personally a new and fresh relationship with Christ? Is there sin in your family that needs to be dealt with? And how can you model brokenness for sin for your kids? Thank you for this journey. I look forward to your conversation on the board. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.